Welcome to episode 267, Exploring Students Exploring in a Week Without Walls. We have a couple people who've been off to different places during the past couple of weeks, been in Chiang Mai, Thailand, three of our guests, been in Bali, one of our guests. So we're going to hear some stories along with their teacher, who I think may have gone with them, maybe not. Their teacher is someone who's basically had every job possible in Korea. Well, not quite. Uh, Tim Bray is with us, who I found on a best teacher website I was watching by Bob Greenberg. He interviews different teachers around the USA and around the world now. And I was just fascinated watching Tim do global education because that's what I like doing, using technologies to get students connected to people around the world. But the project we're talking about today is not just technologies. They actually flew there. They didn't wait at their desktops. They went and experienced things that they couldn't have experienced before. Tim has had, as I said, many roles. First, where I'm going in a few weeks, I just booked a flight to Incheon, Korea. He was at Incheon, Korea, and is the director of Ed Tech, where he established an ed technology department. I'd like for him to talk a bit about that. What does that mean, establishing an ed tech department? But from there, from 2020 to 2022, he became the director of professional development at Chungna Dalton School in Seo District near in Incheon, basically. I think it's a new district within Incheon. It's a high-tech district trying to get everybody connected through all sorts of interesting ways. So I'm sure he was fascinated with that and wanted to experiment with the technologies in that district. If I'm not mistaken, Tim can correct me on that. But in 2022, he decided that maybe there's stuff happening outside of Korea that he needs to explore. And so he decided to apply for something in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, and became the international principal at Westview Cambodian International School. Fascinating. And I hope he talks a bit about that. But he was not done. Well, he served that one from 2022 to 2024. So now he's off on a little island south of Korea that's compared to Hawaii by many people. He's at Jeju Island. It's St. Johnsbury Academy. He's the director of technology there. And he works with all sorts of students to make learning rich and exciting, including the project we're going to talk about today, A Week Without Walls. If you go to the blog post, you can explore A Week Without Walls. It looks fascinating. It's right up our alley at Silver Lining for Learning. It's something that we're interested in because we're pushing the learning envelope here. And all of our guests this week, we have two sophomores and two juniors who have pushed the envelope in their own unique ways during the past couple of weeks. And so it's a privilege, it's an honor to have a chance to speak with students. If you've followed our show, you'll know that the weeks we've had with Nepali students, with students from Nepal, were two of the most fascinating shows that we've had. We've also had students from China on our show and from other parts, from Australia, been on our show, from other parts of the world. I think this is the first time we've had students from Korea. So that's a big thing. And Korea's really place that I like to visit. I've been there 9 times. My son is Korean. My father was in the Korean War. I like going as many times as I can. So I just, as I said, booked a flight there, and I have many friends throughout the country. So welcome anyone from Korea who's watching this show, and suggest new ones. So that's enough introduction, Tim. Could you elaborate a bit about your background? I hit the hot spots, I hit the highlights, and tell us, lead us into this week without walls.
Yeah, sure. And thanks so much. Yeah, I'm Tim Bray, and I'm the director of technology at St. Johnsbury Academy in Jeju, South Korea. Um, and previously, the school had been doing trips, but they were sort of like, different times of the year, whatever had made sense for the teacher who was organizing it or whoever was organizing it. And last year, after watching this, Dr. Schultz, our principal in the high school, it was his first year at SGA as well. And he observed it and he said, I love the trips. I love how it's like good for students, but I feel like it's a bit of a disruption to the educational process because, some of the teachers are having a student gone, for a week, and then the next week somebody's gone, and the week after that. So he asked the faculty to compress the trips into 1 week, which I think probably also made parents happy because then they only had to pay for one trip and didn't have to have discussions with their kids about like, what, you want to go on another trip? Well, these are really expensive. So instead, it kind of gave the parents a little relief. There's only one trip you can choose. It put them all in 1 week. And so we knew everyone was going to be out doing something during that time. And so that allowed us to plan some other things. And so, yeah, it was a great experience. I think it's gone off really well for our first iteration of this style. We are definitely planning to do it again next year, but I heard the week of the trip is going to move. It's going to be after our winter break next year in January. But without that, I won't really say anything more. I'm going to turn it back to the kids. I like them to be the star of the show. So
Before you do that,
yeah.
Is it possible I could go in a time machine back a whole bunch of decades and enjoy? I'd love to have had that as my high school experience. But Tim, can you tell us a little bit about your job role as a technology director at different places? What do you do? What have you done in the past? What was it like creating a technology department before we throw it over?
Okay, yeah, sure. Well, as a tech director, you're in charge of the system, essentially, more or less. And so, for example, here I have a team of techs, and they would be what I call like the nuts and bolts guys. Like they know how to fix the network, they know how to make the printers work, they know how to make the computers work. And I'm essentially their manager, and I'm there for like being able to interface with what the academic departments need with what the business department has. And so our business department, as you can imagine, we're based in Korea. So most of them are ethnically Korean. They've either lived abroad or they are from Korea. And so they know how to do everything inside of Korea and how to get things working here. And then we have our foreign faculty. We do have some Korean faculty to teach the Korean language programs and things like that, Korean history. But most of our faculty members are foreign. And so there's always a need for the local staff to kind of interface with the foreign staff, and I'm sort of a bridge between those two groups. Having been in Korea a very long time, I know quite a bit about the culture and how things work here, and so a lot of times I can smooth things over or help things be integrated more easily. And then that's the main component. The subsidiary component of that is I help teachers with technology in the classroom. And so many of our teachers have already been teaching with technology. As you can imagine, COVID kind of accelerated everyone's ability to use technology effectively. And so the conversations I have these days are less about how does my computer work and more about what should I do with this as a part of my instruction. I have this tool that I found and I have this project that I'm going to do, and how can I marry those two things together seamlessly? And then I kind of come in and to help brainstorm ideas, possible pitfalls, things that could get in the way, potential risks about data security, for example, and just like student safety in general. And then, hey, what's the outcome? Is this assessment really fitting the thing you're hoping to assess? And so that's sort of my instructional role, is that part. And as far as setting departments up, yeah, when I got hired at Chungna Dalton School, they had Chromebooks. They had a fleet of school Chromebooks. So everyone from elementary school to 8th grade had a Chromebook. And then the high school students were on a bring your own device program, but they had never had an ed tech person. And so when they hired me, they were sort of like, well, Tim, we want you to show up and we want you to tell us how to do this right, because we've been doing it and we're not so sure that we're doing it right. And so I came in and was able to verify and kind of confirm some of the things they were doing, and say yeah to some other practices that were going on that maybe weren't the best, and then improving security across the network, improving functionality across the network. And so those kind of things are sort of it's really a hybrid job. There's one part of it that's almost like an engineer, and then there's another part that's very, very academic focused. And so it's sort of two things that got married together. In the old days in education, it used to be oftentimes you'd have an IT director, but those people had studied computers. Like, they were not educators. They were computer science majors, just like you'd imagine them to be, which was great. They had a very strong handle on the computers, the devices, the network settings, those kind of parts. But they weren't teachers. They didn't necessarily know what it means to take it to a classroom and use it with students. And so very quickly we started to have ed tech roles open up. And these were people that were usually lay people. They were teachers like me, an English teacher, and they had used a lot of technology and they understood how to use it with students, and they understood the background knowledge of like, well, this is how a network works, this is how the computer works with the network, those kind of functional things. But I didn't formally study them. I didn't go
Mm.
and take a computer
Right.
science class.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so what slowly has kind of happened over time is tech directors have become people that are either have studied computer science but were also teachers, so they were computer science teachers, or they're people more like my position where I wasn't formally educated as a computer science teacher, but because I used computers a lot with students and I understood the educational side of it, it it put me in a position where I could understand how to work with the technicians, but also how to work with the teachers and the
Right.
students.
So before we turn it over to them, you're at an international school so that you have expats from, or you have people from Australia, New Zealand, US who are teachers there,
Yeah,
or
we have teachers from all over. A few Brits, a couple Aussies, a couple Kiwis, or I should say New Zealanders, several people from Canada, and then a lot of people
wow,
from the US. Yeah.
wow, very rich. And then you get these students who get to go on international experiences. So we probably should turn it over to them. We have Logan with us, Chloe with us, Sung Hoon with us, and Jun Hee with us. Would one of you want to just first we'll go through a quick introductions, and then we'll go back through your experiences in the week-long adventure.
Yeah, so early this March, our school took a big group of other students to foreign countries like Thailand, Italy, and Bali. And we all took out a week of our school time and we traveled to places and made new experiences. First of all, I'm Junie Yum. I am a junior in high school in Jeju St. Johnsbury Academy. And for a week without walls, I went to Thailand.
Great, thank you.
To briefly explain about me, I actually attend to a Thailand trip with Junie, who is a same grade with me. I'm a junior year, and my name is Chloe Yoon, and you can call me Dahi. My Korean name is Dahi, so you can know this. And the experience of the Thailand trip was so good. And next year, me and Junie also plan to go to the Thailand trip because it was so impressive and it was so meaningful to us. Yeah.
Wonderful. We'll get into the specifics. Thank you, Dahi.
Uh,
Logan,
my
check out
name,
is unmuted. So Logan, go ahead.
sorry about it. My name is Logan, and my Korean name is Jiwon. And this March, I went to Bali with my friends, and I really had a rich experience, really getting connected to the locals, and it was a real lifelong memory that I will never forget.
Sounds wonderful. And finally,
I'm a sophomore this year. I'm Song Hyun, and I also went to Thailand, and I think I learned so much there, and and the learning experience still lingers in my memory, and I would like to share them with you today.
great. Thank you for the brief introductions. And now let's get into what did you do during the week before Dr. Mishra and I start asking you questions about the week without walls and so forth. Let's find out what happens in a week like that. And what were the exciting things that you participated in and took home with you?
I'm looking at the travel itinerary right now and reading off from the list. We see like straight off from day two, like because day one we arrived really late. Day two we started with elephant conservation. We visited a conservation center where we fed the elephants, took pictures, took a shower with them, and then we visited the night market in Thailand, which is really famous. We were all so excited about that. And then a forest restoration center where we planted some plants and learned about, reforestation. And I think the main event for our Thailand trip was visiting our local tribe and a village where they had like a really local school, and we went there to volunteer for the kids. That was a really main event for our trip. And supplementary, we had visiting the art village. Like it was also really amazing. Um, Plus we had Muay Thai class, like a 2 hour sports class for us where we did Muay Thai for the first time.
Wow. And that's just in 1 week.
Yep. It was a really busy week.
Thank you, Junhee. Anyone else want to share their weeks of adventure and exploration? Logan,
Well,
Logan, go
yeah,
ahead.
I went to Bali and well, it was I really liked the trip from the first, like from the flight. Like we were able to get more familiar with my friends and for to the main part. During the trip, like we were able to learn more about the ecosystems and the how precious the sea environment was. Like we went to a marine center and learned more about the coral reefs and how important those re corals are to the earth and for all of us. And we went to we went snorkeling and we were able to see the real corals. And we also made artificial coral that will that we could help the sea environment more richer and more healthier. And apart from the seas, we also went to volcano. It was a real life volcano, and we were also able to learn about the geography there. And the best part was like we went to a local village, and we stayed there for 3 or 4 days, and we we really had 4 days acting like the locals. So we were able to know how the locals were making their lives there and how they like make money, how they sell things, and how they catch fish and how they eat. And that really inspired me, and it was really amazing.
Wow. Yeah, both of you have had such rich experiences that something you can think about for your whole lives, right? Yeah, so we have Chloe left. Would you like to jump in, Chloe?
So basically I had like similar experience with Junie because we went to a same trip, which is a Thailand trip. So I think as Junie mentioned before, I think the main like focus of our trip was volunteering in the local school in Thailand village. I think that was like a most memorable and the experience that we actually can keep it go after we have this experience of this talent trip because it was like one of the most like time where I could spend with the kids and like do things where we actually um things that it is very like memorable to us. For example, we actually made some kind of bracelet with Thailand kits. And also, as you might know or not may not know, like we had an activity to make slime. Do you guys know what is slime? It's like a yeah, it's like a jelly thing that is actually famous for like kids. So we actually had experience to make some kind of slimes. So while we were watching um the kids how they interact with this kind of activities, it was really good to see them and yeah. Mm. And as a person who loves to keep in touch with kids, it was so good. And also, I love how they laugh and how they smile while they're doing this kind of activities. So yeah, it was really good to see them, and it is really meaningful to me.
You know, all three of you have mentioned the emotional side of this. Logan, just in the take going on the plane with your friends is very important. It's not just when you get there, it's the flight over and talking to each other. And Chloe, it's the observation of the smiles and the laughter and things that it's not on the docket, you know, but that's what you see. So, Sung-hoon, would you like to be adding to what they said?
Sure. I would like to add on to what Junhee and Dahi said, because since I went to the same trip with them,
Right.
and I also loved them seeing them smile, and even after we volunteered, the most memorable part was when I gave the chief's daughter the doll that I made. It actually looks kind of like this. It's like a self-made doll, but the outfit the girl is wearing is like more of a Thai culture. And like when I gave like so I made the doll when I was going to Thailand, and when I gave the doll to the chief's daughter, it made her smile, and that smile was what what I remember the most since I felt like I did something for them since like the they don't like always get to meet us and they don't always get presents. But when I actually gave them a present, I felt like I contributed to their happiness and actually made a difference in their daily life. And I think that also made me happy. And so I feel proud of myself for that. And yeah.
Wow. Just a wow. All four of you, big wows, you know. And you did. You all make it. It was an impactful for you as well as on the people you observed and interacted with. Before we go to Punya, sure, I've got 59,000 questions and I've got several by me. So we'll go to Punya next. But first, we need to make sure Tim Bray doesn't have has things we might want to add to after hearing what each one said. And also, were you on one of these trips or were you left behind in Jeju?
No, I got to go on the Thailand trip, actually quite by accident. The person who had organized it had a passport problem, and so he needed to ask me to step in and help with the trip, which so I wouldn't have been going, but then I got lucky and did get to go. And on top of that, I didn't get to go to Bali with Logan, so I didn't get to see him, but I did get to watch the other students. And what was great as being the person who's not having the experience necessarily happen to him, but getting to watch other people have it, is I got to see some amazing things. Dahi and Junhee, I actually taught in English last year when I was back in the classroom for a year. And so for me, it was really wonderful to see just they were fantastic leaders. Like they were the oldest people on the trip as far as age, and they really stepped into that role and they were really helpful and they really kind of made sure the 10th graders and the two ninth graders that were on the trip were doing what they were supposed to do. And so from a standpoint of a leader in the trip, it was wonderful to see their leadership and to see them step into those roles. And so that was great to see. And then for Song Hyun, I actually saw something really, her time in the village was amazing, I'm sure. And I know she got something out of that when she told me about, she gave the doll to the chief's daughter. I was really impressed that she had done that. But also when I saw her do Muay Thai, it was really interesting because she's a bit reserved, which isn't a bad thing, but she really kind of came out of her shell and she was really like really trying hard and really punching and kicking. And I was kind of surprised because I didn't expect that from her. And so it was really nice to see her really like, step into that and really take advantage of the experience and get something from it. And so that was what was amazing for me, is to watch them grow as young adults and to see they're just wonderful people.
So I need to take a quick commercial break here in that remind our listening audience and viewing audience last week was our 6-year anniversary of Silver Line for Learning. And with me today is Punya Mishra from Arizona State University. I'm Kurt Bonk from Indiana University. 3 other co-hosts with us in the show are not here today because of travel and schedules and illness. So Lydia Kyle from Toronto, Chris Titi from Harvard, and Young Zhao from Kansas. I also want to say thank you to the participants today because I know a big exam is coming up for all of them, and they took time out of their schedules to be with us, even though they're cramming for exams and so forth. I need to turn this over to Punya Mishra. Punya, would you want to jump in here?
Thank you. And thank you all of you for joining. Well, what my question actually before we talk about the trip and all of that is I want to get to know you guys a little better. Tim, we got a bit of your background and history. So I'd love to hear from you. What are you told us the basic details. I'm a sophomore. I want to know a little bit more about what are your interests, what are your passions, things that you're just curious about and you want to learn more about. What's something that you're proud of, or whatever you want to share with us so that we get a better sense of each of you as individuals. So Song Hyun, you are at the top left of my screen. So I'm just going to start off with you, and then we can just go in whichever order you guys want.
Okay, so I'm currently a sophomore who is passionate to who would like to achieve a biomedical major, is particularly the dentistry major, and
Okay.
so I really like using things with my hands, and I believe I have some skills with it, just like how I made this one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
You knitted it? How do you do it? You knit it actually?
yeah, I did it. So,
Wow. Look at that. Thank you for sharing.
and
Okay.
as for the preparation for my junior year, I'm working on I'm previewing my all the AP courses for junior year, and I'm studying SAT, and I'm really studying hard. But of course, it's like Korean typical thing to like
Sure.
study for the whole.
I know. I have friends from Korea. I'm from India. Okay. I know exactly what you guys are going through right now. So I really appreciate your taking time to join us today. So thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Whoever wants to go next.
My name is Junie Yam. I'm going to an international school. I've actually never been to a typical Korean school before. I studied abroad in Malaysia when I was young for a few years, and
Okay.
there's like four international schools here in this area, and I attended two of them. One of them
Okay.
in my early like kindergartens, and the other one since middle school, which is over here. And I'm a junior right now, so I'm also pretty busy. Like I'm studying for my APs. I finished my SAT, but like I'm now thinking about universities, and I want to study finance and like business when I go to
Okay.
university. And I definitely am thinking of going to like the States to study.
Okay. Well,
So
both my
I
kids
know
did
that
business. Yeah.
ASU is good where Punya is, but Indiana's got one of the best business
Oh no,
schools around.
ASU
Just
is
look at
better.
Oh,
ASU is
oh.
better. Okay. No, I wish you guys all the best, but all these schools are great. It's what you bring to it. So, Chloe, I'm going to go to you next. What's fun? What's interesting? What do you enjoy doing?
First of all, I can say I can introduce myself as an art person because like I'm
Okay.
really passionate doing arts and I've since doing art when I was really young, like 4 years old. So for me and my whole life, and I think I started my art since like 4 years old. My whole life was actually in art and doing art. So I can tell myself as a art person. Besides art, I really love to being hanging out with my friends, and also I really love to care with children's since I have many cousins who is really young. So I really took care of them, and I love to like be with kids because whenever I ever like be hanging around with the kids, I feel like I'm being like more innocent and being more natural to them. Yeah,
Mhm.
and
So,
also.
when you say arts, what kind of arts? Visual arts or painting or is it music? What?
Maybe like my most interested part of my art is fine arts, like painting, drawing, like
Okay.
illustrating, those kind of stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Logan.
Hello, my name is Logan, and unlike the others, like I participated a Korean school my whole life until last year, and um, I came here to search for my interest because at the Korean school we only study, 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 and they don't care about anything else. And especially for my previous school and my previous district, it was one of the most competitive places. So we like went to academies the whole day until like midnight, and I was really stressed out and I wasn't really sure what to do in my future. So I came here because I thought like at St. Johnsbury Academy, we can do a lot of projects, a lot of activities, and like a lot of co-curricular things so that I can learn more about my future and determine a lot. So I'm really liking it here, and I'm going to do my best until I graduate.
Well, thank you guys so much. It's so much. It's so fun to hear of all these different interests you have and brought. And so my question then is really, do you see this experience as being something that pushed your interest forward in some ways, that it opened certain ways of thinking or doing that you may not have thought about before? Because part of the reason of, I think, a project like this, and Tim, feel free to jump in as well, is to take you outside of the classroom. That's why it's without walls. And then hopefully it gives you a chance to reflect and think about yourself and your interests, whether, Chloe, it might be, in your case, it might be art or dentistry or whatever the case each of you may be. I'm just curious about how this experience, did it make you rethink something or open certain ideas in your head that you may not have thought about when you're thinking about yourself as a learner, as a young adult ready to step into the world? um, any which way. I mean, there is no right or wrong answer to this. I'm just curious to understand, because people like Tim and educators like us, we have these things in our head, like, oh, this will be such a great experience if we take our kids and we have them have this experience, and it'll open their eyes, it'll do this, it'll do that, and we never really know if that works or not. And so I'm just curious to know, like, what kind of thing what did that experience mean to you at a personal level, right? So anybody want to jump in? Go ahead.
Do I start?
Sure.
So as for me, I think this applies to any major in the status quo since uh so I think learning to communicate and learning to embrace distinct cultures that we don't usually see in our society and uh the place we live was like essential for our future since like in the present world specifically, like it's likely that AIs will replace many jobs and I saw numerous articles saying that soft skills are necessary for us. And so I think since like communication and dealing with people is like are like part of the soft skills, I believe that we had to acquire them in order to succeed in our future. It's not like college thing, but like it's like
Mhm.
after we graduate college and actually work, I think it's just really essential for us to develop those communication skills and embracing distinct cultures since like it used to be important, but I think now it's getting like more essential.
Mhm.
And yeah, 'cause like what we think as an oddity may just be like something everyday for others, and we have to understand that in order to preclude certain uh discriminatory practices. And so I believe that this trip was like a foundation for high
Mm.
schoolers.
Thank you. That's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful insight. Thank you. Who wants to go next?
I can go next.
Sure.
I can definitely say like this trip was a turning point in my life, and
Mm.
I got so many inspirations. For example, like I have an inspiration already for my college essays for this trip.
Uh,
And one thing that I do want to say is like I think most people in our trip was talking about this, like for example, in the local tribe in the mountains, we went to the bathrooms and there were a lot of bugs. And usually living in Korea, we don't really get to experience that. And when we were sleeping in that village for 3 days, we had to get used to those. And by the end, everyone, like nobody cared about those bugs anymore. And we just accepted it like, oh, that's how it's like here in this village in Thailand. And similarly, like when we went to pick coffee beans, I've actually never seen coffee beans before, like in my real life, like coffee bean trees. and we went to go volunteer and pick for those beans, and there were also a lot of bugs, and it was really muddy, and we had to get really messy trying to pick those beans. And to be honest, I've never tried anything like that before, like really going into the trees and picking everything out, and getting stuff out of my hair. And sometimes there were complaints about, it being too messy. But at the end, I think it was a really cool experience that I got to actually like pick those beans, see where those coffees come from.
Hmm.
That was really like what a turning point for me, actually.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go next.
Um,
This is very, very helpful to help me think about what it means to each of you individually.
I'll
Mm.
go next
Sure.
for your questions. So as you like mentioned to us that maybe it would be the boundary of our life, and I can definitely say yes, because I've actually had never experienced like being in a local village and the village where like internet is like not properly working and all of the people in the village couldn't speak English. Yeah, it was really kind of like shocking to me because like the village appearance seems to be like a 1980s era of Korea because it was
Uh-huh.
like not really like developed. Yeah. And however, it was like really good, really like interested to see them as like how they actually like operate their life. And even though the technology and some kind of like modern days things are not really developed in that society, they were keep continue with their life and how they're like passionate to their work. For example, like making some coffees, and for the kids, how they're like really passionate and like doing sports, like because like they're really good at like soccer as I watched them. I was really interested to see them. And also they couldn't speak English. Most of them were like only familiar in their own language, which was Thai. So it was kind of hard to interact them with their body language. However, it was really cool experience to um try to engage with them with our like physical thing because the language was not working for us to do. Yeah, so yeah, most of them,
Sure.
yeah, it was really good too.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you. Logan?
yeah. So for our trip, to be honest, not all of our students were very happy with their like accommodations. But like for me, I think it was a or richer experience, not from the accommodations, but also from the people. So we had a lot of opportunities to ask questions to them and like do like foods with them and do activities with them. And like the first thing I noticed that like these people really love what they're doing and these people really want to
Mm.
um, has a real pride on their heritage. And I've noticed that it is not a real common thing to like love and want to get to carry those things in their lives. So like I also wanted to like if I have a new like interest that I want to carry on, like I really want to do that with a lot like the locals because yeah and a part of that our chaperone Mr. Dustin told us that it is a real privilege to be on a trip like that because
Mhm. Mhm.
it is for some students they aren't even able to go on a trip like this and like for like um I re I like I really like the how they sorry about it how they live and how they care about those and all of the
Mhm.
things really moved me and like I think it all combined to make a more mature me during this trip.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'll just add a comment and then I'll pass it back to Kurt or maybe Tim if you want to add something. So when I was in my high school, this reminded me, I did a trip which is similar where I went and lived in a village in India, in North India, and we helped build a school over there. And that was genuinely one of the most transformative sort of experiences for me. That's not what I do today, but I think that it was something that I still remember, very fondly as an amazing experience, but also just seeing the world from a different lens, to be away from sort of the regular rhythms of things. It was quite amazing. So thank you for bringing those memories back as well. And I don't know, Tim, if you want to add something from your sort of having observed this, things that you found, that you might have heard from other students about things that had changed in their way of thinking about stuff, or maybe things that changed in your thinking. I don't know. Whatever you want to add before we pass it back to Kurt.
Yeah, sure. I think one of the things that I've always found really interesting, having been in Korea for a long time, and in most of Korea is rather urban. It's always fun for me to see when those students have to have a rural experience, because that's where I grew up. I grew up in rural Montana in a farming and ranching community, and so that's the world I grew up in, and
Right.
I'm used to that world. But when I was in high school, I got to do a program called Close Up, and they would take people and take them to the U.S. I was in Washington D.C. and see the Capitol. And so when I was in 11th grade, I was a junior. I got to travel to Washington D.C., and it was the first time I had really traveled without my family, without my parents, and it really made a lasting impression on me. And just the idea that the world was a much bigger place than rural Montana. Um, and I have lots of friends from high school that stayed in Montana, and that's fine. That was the choice they made. But it did really put the travel bug in me, and it really did start the journey of like, maybe I'm going to be going to other places and living in other places. And so I always think anytime you take students outside of the walls of the school and do something, interesting things are going to happen, not necessarily the things you planned on, and
Sure.
not necessarily
Absolutely.
the things they planned on, but they'll always come back feeling a little different through the experience and feeling like they grew in some way.
So thank you, Tim, for mentioning this thing about that you just never know what the impact of it is going to be. In fact, just before this, we started the show, I was doing some analysis of some like 27 top cosmologists. I have these interviews that they had given, and I have the actual transcripts of the interviews. And I'm sort of reading them and I'm looking at their life stories and histories. What's amazing is like how diverse they are and how idiosyncratic the way is that they ended up doing something. So my aunt gave me a telescope when I was 7 years old, right? And like, what if the ant hadn't given you a telescope? Would you still be? Who knows, right? And so I think what these opportunities do is they throw you in the world at large, where you get bumped with a lot of different experiences, ideas, and so on. And what will click, you just never know. But that's what I think good educators do. So thank you for sharing that. There is something to be said for the serendipity of it and the predictability of it, which can be quite powerful. So thank you. Kurt, back to you, sir.
Yeah, I have three questions, and I'll probably get to ask one or two of them here. And if I was to order them one, two, three, I'm asking the second question here. So of the three. And the first and the second question both apply to the students as well as to Tim as the instructor. So all of you can answer this question. I'm sure people who are listening to the show, who are watching the show, are wondering, because we are in such a competitive society, how was this learning evaluated? And what types of learning that took place during the week that you were in were even evaluated? So did you have to turn in a summary essay? A reflection? Did you have to create something and post it? Or was there peer review? Do you share with your peers your learning and they gave you feedback? Was there feedback from people in Thailand or Bali? Were you able to turn in something to them and have them give you some, you know, advice or comments? So I'm just curious what kind of summative activities or process-based activity might not even be done with it yet. Maybe you're still working on it and you don't turn it in for a while. Took place, and maybe it's different for each of you. That's okay. Or maybe there wasn't any, and that's okay too. I have a book called The World is Open, and when I interview students about using free and open access sources, courses, and free textbooks and free online resources, animation. They say as soon as we start assessing me, I want out. So the students, people I interviewed, around the world who are using open access contents from MIT of all places and say, it's wonderful to have every course from MIT on the web for free, but as soon as you test me on what I learned, I don't want to learn it. So, how serious and rigorous was the evaluations, and were you stressed out related to that, or was it pretty casual and open-ended? Anyone can answer that question. Jung-hee.
Yeah, I'd say it was pretty casual and open-ended. Our main way of sharing our experiences during the week was we had like a really big group chat with all the parents, teachers, and students. And it was the teachers who always took pictures of us while we were doing activities, and they were constantly uploading the photos at the end of the day, so our like parents got to see those pictures live. And our teachers also made sure that we contact our parents every day and send them pictures, give them a call. And also, at the end of every day, we had a big like meeting with all of our teachers and students. We gathered around a certain place and we got to summarize the day, like how was it? What did you guys do today? And at the very last day of the trip, we had a really long, like 1 to 2 hour session in the campfire, and we were talking like what was good about the trip, what can we do better for the next trip, and what can we improve, what should we do next time, what other activities should we add. It was a really fun talk. And yeah, after we came back, we still uploaded pictures in our group chats. And also, we have a system in our school called Hilltoppers Weekly. It's kind of like a weekly newsletter that the principal sends out to the parents and students through email. And there was like a short description of our trip, our photos, what we did. And yeah, that's how other people got to see about our trip.
That's wonderful. Hilltoppers means that you have mountains and hills in Jeju, or is it flat there?
There's a lot of mountains here, but our main character mascot of our school is a hilltopper. So I think that's why it's called the Hilltoppers Weekly.
Great. Anyone else?
There weren't like necessarily uh assignments we had to do after the trip. Like there weren't like no one asked us to like make like a serious essay, like formal essay after the trip. But uh there were some students or maybe t because teachers requested them to like ask for my reflection of what was my favorite part, what did I learn about the trip through like the yearbook processing. Since like every annually our school has yearbook at the end of the year, and so they definitely wanted us to uh talk about the trip week and how meaningful it was to us. And so I think through the yearbook processing, maybe because like some yearbook students asked me to talk about what made us like what was the most impressive part of the trip and what did I learn about it. And so I think I got to share my experience there. So it was pretty much open-ended because there's no like definitive answer to that.
Both your answers again make me want to join in something like this. I've been the right type of student. I would have loved to have that. With Chloe or Logan, you have anything to add?
Because as Songyan and Junie mentioned before, were actually some kind of like chill and some kind of open-ended and casual trip, which we didn't have like big assignments to complete some kind of like essays or like the projects that we have to complete during the trip week. So me personally, I took a lot of photos and I recapped all my photos to become like a crucial memory in my life. And I personally also uploaded some kind of photos where I took in Thailand, where I took a photo with the kids. I took photos with Junie, and I actually uploaded in my Instagram account to share how the trip was really good for me and share the local villages photos of the Thailand. Yeah, and I think that's my personal assignments to do it because I really wanted to post some kind of like pretty pictures and some kind of photo that actually was meaningful me in my Instagram account. So yeah.
And I will also talk about it and um, like we weren't assigned of any essays or something, and we were also like very behind schedule during the trip, so we weren't really able to talk about it about the trip altogether. But when I came back to Jeju, I had a real deep talk with the teachers who went with me, and we talked about what was good and what was really meaningful and what was a bit need to be improved. But it was a real great conversation about to reviewing what we learned and like what made me more mature. And I think that was a real meaningful assessment of trip like that. Yeah.
Sounds like your plane was a little delayed in your earlier comment and put you behind. Is that the case there?
Um, yes, we had a lot of issues. Like my plane was delayed, like someone got sick during the mountain because it was very wobbly and some like vomited and we had to like wait for them. I have a fun episode. We were divided into four buses, and we all had to go in a straight row. But the front bus stopped, and we said, what is happening?" And like two of the boys went out and vomited, and like the chaperone decided they have to go to the bathroom. So so maybe 20 students of the 33 students went on to the bathroom, and like it was a delay of 1 hour because the bathroom was so small.
You never know what's going to come up. Before I
Yeah.
ask, I think we'll
So,
have one
can
last
I,
final. Go
Kurt,
ahead,
can I just
Punya.
make a quick comment? I
Yeah.
think, Logan, those are the kinds of examples of experiences that one needs to have.
Yeah.
That, that's part of the point of the world with the classroom without walls is that you're going to get stuck somewhere and you have to figure things out and you have and lot of life is like that. And I think that very often when we look at school and we look at that, you live in this little cocoon or this bubble, with your parents and your teachers and your classroom and your friends. I think there is a lot to be said for things not going according to plan because a lot of life is going to be that way. So I'm glad you shared that story. I'm sorry you had to go through it. I'm not saying that that was fun, but to me, sometimes the not fun is where the learning is maybe happening as well, right? So let's not undervalue the importance of the not fun parts of things sometimes.
So I have one more question, but Tim, that will go to the end of this hour. But Tim, do you have like a 30-second or 1 minute to add on to what they have said here?
I mean, I thought it was really nice that we didn't require a formal assessment at the end of the experience, but we did a lot of informal types of assessment and talking with students and having them give a chance to give feedback and with the people who went to the Chiang Mai trip mentioned the campfire discussion. I personally took a lot away from, and I thought was fantastic. And one of the best parts was the very first question that Miss Lovelace, who was leading it, asked. She's like, "Well, what should we do different next time?" And half of the kids hands shot up, and they're like, "We want more time in the village." And I walked away with that going, so the thing that they really wanted, the thing that they found the most value in was that they wanted to spend more time learning about these people and who these people are and helping the students. And I thought that was fantastic. Like I couldn't have asked for a better assessment. That was the perfect assessment.
Exactly. They want to be involved and make a difference. We all do, right? So I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to ask Punya doesn't know what it is, but I'm going to ask Punya to add to the question. We'll make it a little spontaneous here to end, but it's the question I ask maybe 50% of the time, so he probably knows what's coming. I'm curious from your perspective, what were the learning principles or things that you enjoyed or made learning more purposeful for you that people might, and teachers might be able to utilize those and design programs because we're instructional design people. So if we're designing programs, what should we include in them that make a difference in student learning? What are the principles that make it? I don't want to tell you them, but having a purpose would be one of them, right? Which I've given you one principle, but Poonya, you want to add or restate the question in a different way to help them out? You're muted, Poonya. You're
Sorry about that. 6 years in, right? Should have figured it out by now. So let's say the four of you who experienced this, if you had to give feedback to a teacher or a school about this program, what would you give them in order to, if they wanted to replicate it or if they wanted to improve it? What would you say? What would you say to Tim right now and say, hey, if you'd have done that, or we loved this aspect of it in particular, right? That's information that's useful. What do you think?
For me, like I would also ask the school to stay make the students stay more at the village because 4 days might be a long time, but it was really short time because at the final day, like I was finally get to be friends with them, and like at the final day, like I finally got how I understood how they really live, and like I really wanted to participate in their lives more, and I really wanted to participate in the eco marine culture. And I was really sad that I had to leave that day. So like I would ask the school to maybe add a week or two. So yeah, even at this time, I really want to go back to that village. I really miss those people there.
Wow.
Um, I think and overall, we actually had an time to actually share some kind of idea how to develop this trip more in next year because we had some kind of like campfire time during the Thailand trip. For me, I think the trip was overall really well organized. Besides, it was actually a 1 week trip. It might seems to be really short. However, we actually had plenty of experience to do like fitting the elephants, being interact with the local kids, and also like making some kind of coffee beans. Yeah. However, like as Logan mentioned before, I think it'll be really good to have more longer time to be interact with the kids, local village kids. Because I think the 2 days it's quite like really short time to be keep in touch with them. Yeah. So I think really
thanks.
it would be better to have like more time to be with them.
Thanks, Chloe and Logan. Jung Hee or Sung
Yeah,
Hun? Yeah,
I'll
go
go.
ahead, Jung Hee.
So I think everyone is talking about the campfire discussion that we had. One main thing that did come up was having Korean food. So on the very first day we arrived, they gave us kimbap, and also near the end of the trip, they took us to a Korean restaurant. But what all of us were talking about was we don't need Korean food in Thailand. We want extra day of Thai food because we loved it so much. And yeah, especially going going abroad in a country like that. I think everybody just wanted more of that country. Like we wanted more of their culture and food. Like we don't really need Korean food in Thailand. We can just we can just go back tomorrow and get it ourselves. Yeah. And also one thing that did happen was there were a lot of people that wanted to go on the trips, but they couldn't because our schedule overlapped with the SAT schedule. So there were quite a lot of people around me that wanted to go but couldn't go because they had to take the test. So maybe next time, I know that we are changing the week to January, but maybe next time, yeah, maybe look out for those test dates so other people can join as well.
After the trip, I just felt like I wish there was like more ways to make sure uh those people had voices and that other people across the world actually knew that there were some people who were secluded. Because since the village and people we met, they were pretty much secluded from the Thailand mainland. So I think I wish that if we went to the trip where uh many were secluded again, I think that I wish for like having more ways for other people to know that there are people who are secluded, since I feel like there are so many in this world don't have who don't really get a chance to share their culture and their voice. And so uh I think that could be like another way to kind of reflect on our learning.
And I think that meshes well with what Tim's been trying to do his whole academic or teaching career, is trying to get students exposed to those from other cultures so as to get empathy and perspective taking and those kinds of things. Tim, are there any principles like empathy and perspective taking and other things that are part of this program that you might want to pull out as a last comment for us today?
I mean, I think I don't remember who it was now. It might have been Daki. Touched upon the idea of soft skills, or maybe it was something I remember now. Somebody mentioned soft skills, and I think that yeah, it was, it was her. That's becoming more and more important. And as she said, as we move into this era of uncharted water of AI everywhere, and where computer technology is taking us as a society, our ability to be able to connect with other humans is going to be something that we need to hold on to, and we need to find new ways to engage in that activity, not just for students, for adults as well. I think that is something that's woefully missing in our society, and it's a tragedy in a way that that's something that we're lacking. And so it was great, as I said, as an educator, to be able to see the students that I traveled with really, making connections with these people, these Hmong villagers that, they had never seen or met before. And then we sort of drop them into this village and say, well, here you go. Here's some people you're going to interact with now. And they did it. And they did a fantastic job of it. And I could tell by the way that the local kids interacted with them that the local students were getting a lot out of it and were really happy doing it. So I think um, these kind of programs are not necessarily inexpensive. They're expensive. But I think it's money that we need to decide to spend. Maybe we should focus a little less on what an exam says about a person and focus a little bit more on what a trip says about a person.
So Tim, clarify for us before we go, were they unusual in that they're visiting this Hmong village, or are there other schools that have done that are they getting visited by other schools each week, or is this a unique one-off kind of thing?
This particular, we used a company called Adventure Korea, and they have made a partnership with this village, more or less by accident, friend of a friend kind of situation. Somebody knew somebody who knew a person. And so a couple of other international schools have visited that village. One in particular is YISS, Yokohama International School. They go twice a year. But overall, that village is only visited 4 times a year, I believe is what Michael told me, the guy from Adventure Korea. So it isn't like they're having continuous interaction all the time, but they are being visited sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not every week. Punya, and then I'll lead to the next show. Punya, would you like to wrap us up? And would anyone else like to make a final quick 10-second comment before Punya wraps us up? Anyone want to say anything? Everyone's quiet. One of you
No, it's all
volunteered to
it's
say
all
a
it's
final
all
final
it's all
word.
it,
Go ahead,
I'm
Logan.
all right,
Yeah.
Logan. Logan is in.
like 3 months ago, I've never imagined coming to international school and never going on a trip. Like at the Korean high school, I've never imagined going on a trip in high school. So, um, but I came here and went on a trip, and it was the most meaningful experience that I had in my life, and I'm never gonna forget it. And I'm like, if I have kids, I'm gonna tell them stories about it. And I really appreciate everyone who really participated and like helped us with through the trip. And I really I thank the locals in Bali, and I really help the faculties in SJA. yeah, and yeah, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, and thank all of you. You've been
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Punya.
No, I just want to thank all of you for your time. All the best for the exams and everything that's coming up. But also remember, I think don't forget the fact that this was called Classroom Without Walls and that exams and all of these things will come and go. There is a much bigger, wider world out there that you're entering that you should be open to because it'll teach you a lot. It'll knock you around a bit. That's part of it. And but most importantly, thank you, Tim and all of you for joining us today. I know it's early in the morning for all of you, and I will put on my soul hat and I will try to do my best thank you in Korean. Hamshamnida. Hamshamnida. Is that okay? Closer? Better? Okay. I
Kansamida. Okay.
yeah, so
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
okay.
getting there. I'm
Okay.
getting there. I just spent a
Yeah.
week, man, you know.
Okay.
But thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining and all the very best for everything.
So I need to introduce the next show, and it really is there 2 weeks from now we'll be at AERA conference in LA. So we're not having a show in 2 weeks. And next week we're gonna talk to Tim about possibly getting teachers on here reflecting on the show and the principles thereof. But we're not sure yet about next week. So again, thank you to all our listeners and viewers out there for making us possible for 6 years now. This is the first episode of season 7. What an exciting season 7 this will be. Thank you again.